I feel pretty chillaxed right here.
You look really chillaxed.
All right.
How do you gut someone? Always trust my gut.
Hello and welcome to Gutted. I'm Elise.
And I'm Tony, and we're here to spill our guts about horror
films.
And welcome to the podcast. This is the inaugural Patreon episode. So if you're here watching this, we really appreciate your support.
Yeah, this is our very first Patreon episode. Very exciting.
And, with Patreon, we are going to start with a bonus episode every month. And we would like to hear your input. What movies should we cover?
Yeah, so leave us a comment. We'll have some questionnaires on the Patreon page. There's already a question up there right now that lists a few different episode formats. So feel free to fill out that. Let us know which ones you prefer to hear. And if there's a movie that you would like us to cover for one of our Spill Your Gut episodes, then let us know that as well.
Today's film holds a very special place in our hearts, and that's why we chose it for the first Patreon film.
Today we'll be discussing 1992's Dead Alive, aka Braindead, directed by Peter Jackson and written by Peter Jackson, Steven Sinclair, and Fran Walsh.
This will be a Spill Your Guts episode in 3 acts. First, we'll have a spoiler-free intro discussion, followed by a spoilerific gut spill of the film, and concluding with our award ceremony.
Starting with our spoiler-free discussion, and we'll let you know when the spoilers are going to begin, just in case you haven't seen this, but you want to hear the first part of this episode because it is the first Patreon episode. Tony, why is this movie important to you?
This movie is important to me because it was one of the first horror movies that we watched together.
So this story is in our very first episode that we recorded, our intro episode. But just in case you haven't heard that one, Tony and I met freshman year in college. In the dorms, I think the first week of school, everyone was walking around to each dorm room being like, hey, what's up? So-and-so, how's it going? What do you like? What are you into? And during one of these visits, Tony happened to show up into my room. He saw my DVD collection, which I was very proud of. I probably had about 20 DVDs.
Yeah.
Compared to now, that's nothing. But I brought my DVD collection to college, and he looked at my DVD collection, and he was like, oh, you have Evil Dead 2? I was like, yeah, I do. He's like, oh, cool. I was like, yeah, I know.
I'm such a good flirter. I was very good at flirting.
Were you?
I don't know how to say that in a sarcastic way, but no, I wasn't. Okay, I was very awkward as a teenage boy. Awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, who's this boy?
Later, I knew that Elise loved horror movies. I loved horror movies. I invited her to watch this film.
Yeah, you caught me in the stairwell. I was walking with a friend, and you're like, hey, Elise. I was like, yeah? Like, hey, I'm going to have a movie night in my dorm room. You want to come? I was like, okay. And he had barely spoken to me besides that one night in my dorm room where he was like, oh, cool, Evil Dead 2. That was all he said to me in this first week. And then all of a sudden he's inviting me to a movie night. And I was like, all right, sure.
I get straight to the point. You want to watch a horror movie with me?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of other people there. I think we had maybe 10.
Don't get any false impressions. I'm inviting half the dorm, so you're not special.
I wasn't smooth or suave or anything. I just had sort of a one-track mind. I was like, all right, I like movies. My last 2 years in high school, I had a free reign video rental card from Hollywood Video. And we've talked about our Hollywood Video, Blockbuster Video. There was a Hollywood Video that was relatively close to my house, and I would walk over every couple of days, and I would go into the horror, sci-fi, and anime section. They were all right next to each other. I would just pick things at random, and at that time, I didn't really know a ton. I'd seen horror movies. I loved horror movies. I saw Child's Play when I was 5, but it wasn't until high school that I really started to get into certain horror movies. So I'd walk down to the video store and pick one at random. I would always walk by the Dead Alive DVD, and it's the image of a woman and she's kind of stretching her mouth out and there's a skull. It's a very striking, very memorable DVD
it
cover.
is a very recognizable DVD poster or DVD cover.
And rented it one day, and I was like, what the hell is this? This is one of the most far out horror movies or movies in general that I'd ever seen. So when I got to college, of course, I want to impress people.
Show off.
Trying to show off like, hey, I like watching Friday the 13th and Evil Dead 2.
And this was kind of obscure. I had not heard of Dead Alive in college. I think this was probably one of those like, oh, I'm going to show people this movie that no one's probably seen.
Yeah.
I'm obscure.
Well, you know, I think
Fringe.
you're 18 years old, coming from different schools, maybe different states, different cities. You're trying to see where you fit in amongst this group. One way is always like, see if they're into the same kind of music you're into, or see if they're into the same kind of movies they're into. So when I saw that Elise had Evil Dead 2 in her DVD collection, for one, I was like, awesome. She has DVDs and she loves horror movies.
DVDs, check.
Check.
Horror movies, check.
Cute, check.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, I was really awkward, so I wasn't like, hey, let's go watch a horror movie. I think I was just wanted people to know that I thought I was cool. So this was my way of showing like, hey, I'm cool because I am going to invite everyone to watch Dead Alive, Braindead on my tiny computer monitor.
Yeah.
A bootleg copy. I think I had pirated it.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody.
I mean, that was the thing.
I didn't own it.
I know. I think we get that.
We come from the Napster generation, so there was a lot of bootlegging and shitty copies of things and mislabeled things.
Yeah, in the early aunts, that was quite popular. There was LimeWire. Loved LimeWire. Winamp.
See, now you're just trying to show how cool you were by saying which programs you used to use.
Winamp was cool.
Yeah, it
I
was.
used that longer than I should have.
Winamp was great because you could you could design your own skins. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
That was pretty cool.
I just remember that I was able to somehow download whoever was in the dorm. I could download their music inventory, the entire inventory, and I did. I had some Ozzo Motley. I was not into Ozzo Motley.
Ozzo Motley, that's...
I don't know. I was like,
Okay.
hey, free? Okay.
Oh
I'll give it a chance.
Yet when U2 put their album on your iPod for free, you got
they?
pissed.
No, YouTube put, you're right.
Yeah,
Sorry, I thought you
not
said
YouTube. YouTube. Common misconception in the early days of YouTube.
Yeah, Bono.
People thought that it was associated with U2.
Bono from YouTube put his music on my iPod.
Yeah.
Without asking. And I couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah, nobody liked that album. That was terrible.
No, and then my
What were they
iPod was
thinking?
stolen. So I feel like it was like I was punished.
You were punishing the person who stole your iPod. It's
now you get you too, and you
Yeah,
can't get rid of it. Ha! Joke's on you, thief. Anyway, so my memory of that moment when he invited everyone to his dorm room, tiny little dorm room, 12 people on the bed trying to watch the movie. I think like 12 more people on the ground with like little sleeping bags, and we're watching it on his tiny desktop computer screen. That was good enough.
So this was actually your first time seeing the movie.
It was my first time hearing of it and seeing it. And my first impression, I was just like, oh, wow, this is really trying to go overboard, over the top with the gore and the splatter. And there were certain elements that I really remembered thinking, oh, that's really cute. Like the little intestines, the little personified intestines.
Yeah.
They were like walking around, and the lungs were like its hands. It was like, it's so cute.
Yeah.
And the baby, the weird zombie baby, and the rat monkey.
Yeah, we really latched on to some of the characters, some of the zombie characters.
In fact, we referenced the rat monkey and the baby intestine for a long time. And
as kind of like an inside joke kind of thing.
Like an inside joke. Like Tony was the rat monkey and I was the baby intestine. And that was like how that was like our, pairing in the movie. Like, oh, that's Tony and that's Elise. And on the day when Tony decided to ask me if I wanted to be his girlfriend, he was really nervous, and he was like, I don't know how to ask this, and I feel really awkward like saying words. And I was like, well,
This is leading into a really embarrassing story, and I urge you to stop.
I was like, just use rat monkey and intestine is in the story.
I was like, if a rat monkey really liked a baby intestine, then the two of them might, I don't know,
want to go out and perhaps be boyfriend, girlfriend, or rat monkey intestine. I don't know.
Anyways, it was just... Yes.
It was silly. We were 18, guys.
It's both cute and awkward and cringe-worthy all at the same time.
Very awkward.
Yeah.
But memorable.
That sums up me as a teenager, I would say.
I mean, I feel like that sums up most people as a teenager.
Yeah.
Is anyone really cool at 18?
No.
No. I guess there were cool 18-year-olds, but that wasn't us.
I think I always try to have the facade of cool, but I was never on the inside feeling very cool at all.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's adolescence.
Yes, okay.
That's adolescence. All right. Do you remember the first time you watched it?
I watched it in high school. I did like Evil Dead 2 because of its over-the-top nature, and it becomes more of like slapstick as opposed to something that will actually scare you. Mm-hmm. So Dead Alive, and we're going to refer to it as Dead Alive for the entirety of the podcast. Yeah. I know it is probably more commonly known as Braindead, but we know it and have come to it as Dead Alive. So we're going to refer to the movie as Dead Alive, the U.S. name.
Yeah, because we don't want to confuse it with the Braindead film starring Bill Pullman.
And Bill Paxton.
And both Bills.
Which we haven't seen yet. We need to watch that.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah. So maybe that's one for the Patreon viewers to maybe suggest.
Is that one you want to see?
Yeah. Anyways, when I first saw it, it was just so over the top. You know, it's a cute love story. Mm-hmm. So it's got this sweetness to it. And it's low budget, but it's done well. It is a movie that just when you think they've gone far enough, it goes a little bit further. It's just Peter Jackson's way of saying, we are going to gross you out. We are going to shock you. We're going to do things that haven't been done before, and we're going to do it as big as we possibly can,
as big and as messy as possible.
Yeah, and because it's so over the top, it ends up being funny and not scary. It's definitely gross.
Yeah.
Even when I was a teenager, that's what I liked. When you have movies that are full of gore, the colors are so saturated and red, and sometimes you'll have blood covering an entire character's face,
just visually,
and you can see their eyes. So yeah, it is like this. Exactly. It's like a visually stimulating, like how often are you going to see the insides of people unless you're some sort of like, I don't know, psycho
murderer,
serial killer. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Anyways, on that note,
we talked a little bit about the poster already and how iconic it is with the woman's face and the little baby skull inside the mouth.
It's kind of like video store clickbait where you go and rent this movie solely based off of the DVD, VHS poster.
What merch, if any, would you buy of this poster image?
Oh, this one, if I was big into tattoos, I would probably get this tattooed on my body.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Your back?
Like, I don't know, on my arm or something.
On your arm? All right, cool. So have this little face
Who knows?
And a tiny skull.
I don't really have any tattoos.
On your bicep. He has one, and it actually rubbed off. And it was not a temporary tattoo.
Yeah, nobody needs to know or probably cares about that.
I'm telling them anyway.
All right. The Patreon insider information.
The insiders get to know that Tony's skin does not take well to tattoos.
Yeah. So how about you? Would you get this poster? Would you put it in your dorm room after I invited you to my movie party? Are you going out and buying the poster and putting it in your room? I feel like
if I got it right after I watched it in your room, people would call me like a faker or like a poser. Like, you just watched it last week. You can't get a poster now. You didn't watch it in high school. And there were a lot of bands like that in college where I was like, I didn't hear this until college, and you all heard it in high school, but I still like
all
it.
That's a bunch of BS teenager stuff.
Well, but you're concerned with that when you're that age. You're like, oh man.
Well, how about now? How about today? You're in the dorms.
All right. I'm in the dorms today.
Well, we're always asking about like if we'll put this poster up in our dorm room.
All right. I will put this in my podcast room.
In your podcast room, okay.
Yeah, I'll put the poster in my podcast room. I would get a sticker for sure.
Yeah.
I'll get the poster and a sticker. Yeah.
So rating this one pretty high.
You know what? I would get a t-shirt because this movie now is pretty sentimental to me. So I would definitely get a t-shirt of Dead Alive.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah. Haven't seen any, but I would get one
Yeah.
if I saw one.
I'm sure we can find it out there on the internet.
You know, I don't like looking for it. I don't like searching for it on purpose. I want to stumble upon it. Like, yeah, that's for me.
Yeah.
So now we're moving on to our second portion of this episode. We are getting into spoilers. So this is the warning. You are warned.
If you haven't seen Dead Alive, it is kind of tough to find. It's not on any streaming platforms, and the DVD is out of print. Do like a little bootleg action?
No.
Or
You wait.
yeah, I'm really hoping for like a really nice 4K box set of this.
Box set.
You know, like with all
Like
the
Bad
extras.
Taste and Meet the
no,
Feebles?
no, not at all. And
Not at all?
No. I'm saying
No Meet the Feebles,
like a
please.
collector's edition 4K usually has a lot of featurettes, a lot of cool artwork. I would gobble that up. So let's get into to this movie. Let's get into Dead Alive. So early 90s, set in New Zealand. The director, you may have heard his name, a guy who goes by the name of Sir Peter Jackson.
Was he knighted?
He might have been. I think I was supposed to look that up, and I remember hearing about that in the news way back in the day.
Maybe they're just very respectful.
Sir.
Sir Peter Jackson.
I believe he was knighted because he is probably the most famous director from New Zealand.
Okay.
Now, Elise has gone on record several times and has called the film about jewelry boring.
Twice. I said it twice.
They are quite long, but you can't deny that when they came out, they were epic, and we hadn't seen movies like that. I was actually a pretty big fan of those movies.
Oh, you were?
When they came out.
Oh, I was not.
Now I think maybe, yeah, I'm over it a little bit. Like I didn't see any of the Hobbit series or anything like
You know,
that. But
I think at that time when they came out, everybody was so into them that I naturally wanted to not be into them.
yeah, hopefully this doesn't get us a lot of hatred.
I know.
But these are, yeah, I guess.
If you signed up for Patreon, please don't unsubscribe immediately after this.
Well, you know, I mean, those movies fall more into this sort of like epic fantasy. Maybe that's just not our genre.
Yeah,
Our genre
not
is
our
horror.
thing.
We need splatter. We need gore. But I do always think that it's cool that Peter Jackson did these splatter gore comedies.
He called
and
them a splat stick.
splat stick. They totally are just splat stick.
They are splat stick.
Oddball, crude, and grotesque. And then after that goes on and does these big mainstream movies.
That get really serious. at
There's some
times.
gore in them too. Like there's action sequences and
Well,
orcs getting beheaded.
Well,
and all
yeah,
kinds
there's
of
gore,
stuff.
but they get serious. They're no longer in that
yeah.
comedy realm.
Yeah. So Dead Alive is his third film. He did Bad Taste. It's a low budget alien comedy splatter thing. Took him 4 years to make. And then he did Meet the Feebles.
Really pushing the boundaries as far as crude sexualization of puppets.
Yeah. Should we get into it?
Yeah.
All right. What's happening in this movie? So
All right. So we open up on Skull Island in southwest of Sumatra in 1957, which I did not know that it took place in the 50s. It's a period piece.
I think that's something that goes over your head because of what's to come. You just forget about all of that sort of backstory
Because
and the whole
everything is
opening
so
set.
yeah, everything is so absurd that why not have all these people wearing these vibrant colored dresses and suits and quirky eyeglasses?
Mm-hmm.
But now that I think about it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that is 50s apparel.
Yeah.
Interesting. So there's a zoologist who tries to capture the exotic Sumatra rat monkey.
And he gets a little close doing whatever he's doing, and the rat monkey scratches him. And then the local people
Zendaya.
who are helping him, they notice that he's been scratched. They know this rat monkey is cursed.
Yeah.
It is carrying this plague. Then the local people, they're like Zendaya.
Zendaya? Oh, I thought Zendaya.
Zendaya is that actress that was
That's
in the
why I thought
Spider-Man
maybe she was
movies.
named after this.
That would have been amazing if she was named after
Her
this.
parents are big fans of Dead Alive.
So they chop off his hand to try to stop the spreading of the disease, and then they notice that he's got a scratch on his forehead. So
Chop
of
off
course,
the head, dead.
Yeah, decapitated. So right away we're starting off with just like severed limbs and decapitations.
Comedic severing of heads.
Yeah. So it ends up in the zoo in New Zealand, Wellington, New Zealand, and we meet our main characters, Lionel Cosgrove.
Lionel Cosgrove, where the filmmakers constantly refer him to as a man attached to the apron strings of mother. They said that several times. I've never heard this phrase.
Well, yeah, he is mommy's boy, and mommy has control over
Very tyrannical.
him. She is also a terrible human being.
I would argue worse than the zoologist, constantly
Yeah.
screaming at him.
She has that great line at one point where she's like, Lionel, get the exterminator. This place is infected. But the way
Infested.
wow, I really messed it up. Anyways, the way that she says it always kind of like, it makes me laugh every time I see it.
Yeah, because it sounds like she has like a mouthful of marbles. This place was infested. It kind of reminds me of Tim Curry's Frankenfurter dialect.
I always thought that if you were somehow able to detach your front teeth from your lower jaw, you can make the sound. You can sound like the way that she
like your
talks.
bottom front teeth?
And like her lower jaw is just
Like
really
unhinge your jaw.
something like
Ooh,
that.
it's a little loose.
Yeah.
Okay.
So mom, and her name is
Vera. And she sends Lionel off onto an errand or something, and he shows up at the grocery store, and there we meet Paquita.
Paquita.
Our love interest.
Yes. And she's the store clerk's daughter.
I think Lionel and Paquita even have a brief interaction, and she's slightly rude to him. She's like, whatever. And I'm like, oh, she's mean.
Very cold.
She's very cold to him.
He's
Poor
kind
Lionel.
of awkward and bumbling, and
Awkward and bumbling, but still kind and
Yep.
deserving of kindness. So I don't know, Paquita. Kind of
So you're not a Paquita fan.
I mean, I ended up liking Paquita, but in the beginning I was like, hey, your reasons for liking Lionel are kind of skewed. They're
Well, she has another guy who's kind of another
like
one of her interests.
isn't he like a pharmacist?
I don't know what he is, but he's kind of like, more masculine, good looking, tall, blonde guy.
He's got a job that makes a lot of money. I think he's a pharmacist.
Everything changes when there's this little tarot card session going on in the background where Paquita's mom is reading her fortune. She's like, you're going to find a dark night.
Lionel does something to where she connects the dots and she's like, oh, it's him.
Yeah. So now she's attached to Lionel. She's like, this is the guy. This is the sign that he gave me.
And she immediately changes her tune. She's like, okay, I like you now. That's when I was like, oh, Paquita, so fair weather. Like,
and I love this, her interaction with Lionel where she's flirting with him. She tricks him into going on a date.
yeah, she's
to
like,
the zoo.
I want to go with the zoo. And he's like, you want to go to the zoo? She's like, yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, she's smart.
They go to the zoo.
Yeah.
Where they encounter the rat monkey.
The rat monkey. They're on their first date. And of course, mom is super jealous. She's like, what? There's another woman in your life and it's not me. So she follows them to the zoo.
She huffs over to the zoo and she's spying on them.
Incognito. She has her sunglasses on.
Yeah. And they're looking real cute.
Unbeknownst to mom, there's a rat monkey by her ankle.
It takes a swipe at her arm and she has this nasty open wound and she screams and they hear it across the zoo.
She lets out the most heinous scream. Yeah.
And this is another great moment where as soon as she's scratched, she sees the rat monkey and she just stomps it with her shoe.
Yeah.
And it's like eyes bulge out and balloon and kind of pops.
Yeah, the eyes look like big blueberries. She kills that rat monkey. No more rat monkey.
The rat monkey also, we should mention, is a stop motion rat monkey. So it's the way they created the character was through stop motion. So it just looks off and kind of funky.
I think it makes it a little creepier. So of course, Lionel and Paquita, they hear mom because everyone hears mom. But Lionel is like, oh, that's mom's scream. No, that scream anywhere. So they rush to her aid and they see that she's bit. They whisk her home and Lionel immediately turns into her caregiver and is treating her open wounds that are just pustules erupting constantly.
It gets really grotesque where like her skin's flapping off her face
flapping
and he's
off.
trying to super glue it back on.
Yeah, he's like, hold on, hold still.
He's taking care of mom.
Yeah, very sweet. The child becomes the parent.
She has some guests over for dinner and she's not well and she's clearly just sweaty and gross.
This is to me one of the grossest scenes in the movie. Like all the guts that are splaying around, that's nothing. This dinner or this lunch scene where they're eating soup. There's a kind of unctuous man that's there who just can't get enough of whatever they're serving, and he's gobbling everything up. The mom is just dripping her fluids into this soup, and it's like red mixing with like a kind of like a milky white or something, and it's just like,
and all the sound effects are very squishy.
yeah, and she's eating it, and I think her ear falls in the soup, and
she's like chewing on her ear at one point.
yeah, I think some of her fluids get into the man's soup, and he eats that too.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
And she's ill, so they call over Nurse McTavish. This is the first bite that we get that where it's starting to spread.
Mom is patient zero, and then she bites the nurse.
Because she actually does die, and then she comes back zombified.
Yeah, so she dies, and Lionel takes her to the cemetery and buries her.
Yeah, they have a full funeral, bury her, all
that. There's a priest and everything, and then a bunch of punks come.
Yeah.
Literal punks.
And Lionel's over there trying to, so he's over there because he's trying to tranquilize Mom, because he knows that she's not going to stay dead. I think it's really funny and very cartoony that he's like, I'm going to give them tranquilizer so that they
go to
bed.
Go night-night.
Just kind of forget about the problem.
Yeah, the punkers come and...
Well, not punkers in the 50s. They're greasers.
They're greasers?
Yeah.
They're not punkers?
It's 57. They're like grease lightning.
So the greasers are there.
Greasers.
They're there to just, be no good nicks.
Yeah.
The priest, luckily, is also there, and he has some skills. We get one of the more famous lines from the movie.
This is like everyone's favorite.
Everyone's
the priest.
Favorite line.
Father MacGruber.
Magruder. And he's there to kick ass for the Lord.
Yeah, but you didn't do it right. You have to do the impression.
I'm gonna kick ass for the Lord.
I'm going to kick ass for the Lord.
I kick ass for the Lord?
Yeah.
Yeah, can't do it.
It's everybody's favorite moment, and then he starts doing some martial arts.
I kick ass for the Lord.
He is kicking ass, but he's really quickly dispelled and dies.
When I saw this again, I was like, I didn't realize he died so quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah, he's impaled on like I don't know, a headstone or something, an angel. Yeah, poor guy. He's not even bit, but wait, somehow he does
get bit, yeah.
He gets bit and impaled, so that sucks. Lionel has to take home Father Zombie and Greaser Zombie.
Yeah, so Lionel's problem is quickly mounting up. He has
multiplying.
4 or 5 zombies now in his
zombie
basement.
Kids.
And he's taking care of them too. He's feeding them breakfast.
Yeah.
And he's trying to keep them all in order.
He's trying to make them have manners and use utensils.
Meanwhile, Paquita's like, why'd you ditch me? We were at the zoo and you just left in a huff. And
he's like, I got a lot on my plate. I'm busy.
Yeah, he's just
inherited 4 kids.
Right. And she comes over and he's trying to hide the fact that everybody's sick.
It's a total comedy of errors. And then his pervy uncle shows up at one point, Uncle Les.
Yeah, this guy also like just terrible character.
Disgusting. And Uncle Les finds out, I think because he hears moanings of passion happening from the kitchen.
He wants the inheritance. He wants the house.
I want the house.
Yeah.
It's mine now.
So when he goes over to kind of bargain, that's when he discovers that Lionel is hoarding these zombies.
Yeah. And he's like, if you want to keep this quiet, then you better give me the house.
Yeah. So basically blackmails him.
Yeah.
He's just like, whatever. Like, I'm dealing with this other problem. Take whatever you want.
I got bigger problems. 2 of my zombie kids just had a baby. Yeah, take the house.
Yeah, we get some zombie sex.
The zombie nurse and zombie priest. They
a bunch
have
of
sex.
other great scenes. The zombies are all sitting at the table and they're acting like babies. They're acting immature and childish. The greaser zombie, known as Void, Lionel gives him a spoon. Here's your eggs, and he shoves the spoon into his mouth, and with such force that it comes out the back of his head.
Yeah.
So a bunch of little effects that are the things that make this movie so fun and so funny.
And poor Lionel just bopping around the whole time. He has a great haircut for this movie because it's so floppy. It just really exaggerates his panic. I liked his hair in this movie.
He definitely reminds me of Tim Roth. He has that sort of look
Yeah, kind of like a Tim Roth meets Pee Wee Herman. That's like the end of problem number one is like, people are becoming zombies. And then we get our second problem. Pervy Uncle Les gets to be the homeowner. So what does he do? First day as homeowner, he invites a whole party over.
It's a rager too. It's like 40 people.
Yeah, there's like 50 people there. And I think by that point, all the zombies are in the basement.
They are locked in the basement.
And I think Lionel gets locked in the basement too.
Well, he gets pushed in by Uncle Les. And this is when he discovers that the zombie baby is a thing. Zombie baby is very creepy. I would say like if there's something that is scary, one is zombie baby and then the other one is zombie Vera.
Zombie
mom at the end.
Creepy, yeah.
Yeah, the zombie baby. I don't even know how to describe this face, but it's like it doesn't look like a baby.
It's like if you take a Cabbage Patch doll and you put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds. It just melts slightly, gets a little puffy, a little shinier.
And it has like a permanent grin, and it's laughing like.
Yeah. Paquita shows up, and she's trying to talk to Lionel, and pervy Uncle Les sees Paquita. He's like, "Oh, you're cute," and he shoves Lionel into the basement, and then tries to abscond with Paquita into the kitchen. And you're like, "Oh, he's very bad dude. He's not just obnoxious. He's like a needs to be in prison. He's a little rapey and needs to go to jail.
Yeah, he's a terrible human being.
Yeah.
And because this is an over the top movie and everyone's kind of this sort of stereotype, there's not much depth to any of the characters. They're all very one dimensional.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're watching the movie for the characters. We're just like Uncle Les. He's a bad person. Yeah. We don't like him.
Yeah. His one motivation is to be bad and gross, and he is. So
yeah, and he gets it. Paquita does discover Lionel's secret. She goes into the basement and sees that Lionel is hoarding these zombies down there. So she goes over to rummages through the basement and finds some poison. And she wants Lionel to use this big ass cartoon syringe to put these creatures out of their misery. And he does, only to find out that the poison he tried to give them was animal stimulant.
Yeah.
So at this point, they're like super zombies, and then they bust through the doors.
They're roiding out. Yeah.
During the party. And now we get to
party mayhem.
Yeah, the total chaos, and this is where you get the majority of all of the blood and the guts and the fun.
Yeah. Now it's a fun party. Now it's a literal rager.
And we have all of our side characters are there. Void and Father Magruder. Mm-hmm. Nurse McTavish is there.
Yep.
Zombie baby's there.
This is when we get Baby Intestines. I forget who Baby Intestines even comes from, but someone gets chopped in half and then we get Baby Intestines. Adorable. And I would say at like peak bedlam, that's when Lionel bursts open the front door. He's like backlit. It's nice ray of light behind him, and he has the lawnmower.
The famous lawnmower.
The famous lawnmower. And he says, "This party's over."
Yeah.
This party's over?
Yeah, this party's over.
And he turns on his lawnmower and he hacks everyone up. And I love his head bobble as he's trying to hack through this crowd of zombie people. It's just like bobbling around. That's when I'm saying his hair really comes into play.
Yeah, the hair is definitely sells it.
Yeah, it really sells how, like chunky these bodies are. How he's really trying to get through them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of blood, lots of guts. We are ramping up towards the end of this movie. This is like kind of the climax here. But we have seen a lot of great deaths. So what are some of your favorites?
Definitely the one where the zombie baby rips through the face. That is definitely one that always sticks with me.
I like the one with the woman in the kitchen. She I think she gets shoved against a light bulb. So she's kind of like a jack-o'-lantern zombie. And the light keeps turning off and on, and you can like see her mouth and the eyes lighting up.
She's on there for a while, and she's just like wiggling around.
Yeah.
And she's this lantern, and
she is on there for quite a while, at least 10 minutes.
Then there's the guy who's kind of decapitated at the mouth, and his head falls onto the floor and gets kicked around like
just
by
sliding
Paquita.
around.
Yeah.
Like a little soccer ball.
Yeah. And that was a really cool effect too.
It was cool because you also get his POV sliding around the floor.
Yeah. And
at times you see him like an up close shot of him, and he's just kind of blinking around, and you feel really bad for him. He's like, I didn't ask for this. I don't mean to be down here with my teeth baring and ready to chomp you. Anyway, I liked him. He's one of my favorites.
There's also that great scene. This is Uncle Les's only good scene because he's otherwise just like so despicable. You're just like, ugh, like, come on, like somebody kill this guy already. Where he takes action and he grabs 2 meat cleavers and it's like in fast motion. He's chopping up zombies.
Yeah, and it's like a whole pile of bits afterward. That was good.
The zombie baby intestines that I think they come from Void.
I don't remember where the zombie intestines come from, but they're so cute. And there's a scene when Lionel has his little lawnmower or something. It's like the last thing that he hasn't chopped yet. And they're on the ground. And it's like the esophagus is talking and the lungs are going up into like a little prayer motion, like, please don't chop me. And then he chops them anyway. So sad.
Yeah.
Oh, and Paquita is shoving a bunch of people into a blender that has amazing staying power. She's putting whole arms and legs into this blender and a whole head.
I think the guy's head that I mentioned, he ends up in the blender. Zombie baby kind of ends up in the blender, but gets out. It kind of like bounces out. The intestines, I think, do they end up in the blender?
No.
As well?
Okay. I always thought the intestines ended up in the blender, but they don't. I think Lionel chops them with the lawnmower. And with that, we're coming towards the end, and our pervy Uncle Les gets killed by Mom Zombie, who is just getting bigger and bigger with this animal stimulant. And the way that we see Uncle Les die, it's through silhouette.
Because he has one of the most brutal deaths.
Yeah, but we just see the silhouette of him dying, getting ripped apart. His head is pulled off his body so efficiently that his whole spinal column comes with it.
And while they had so many good effects in the movie, this is probably one that would be really hard to pull off as an effect.
I think they could have done it. I just think they wanted to show something else, and I thought it was really creative how they showed it in silhouette form.
Yeah. And at this point, we get to see Zombie Vera in her fullest.
Full body glory. And she has a very full body.
Yeah. She's, what do they say?
Very voluptuous. Thick. She's a thick girl. Yeah. Very voluptuous booty, belly, and boobs.
Very lumpy. She kind of looks like a lumpy dinosaur with a big booty and boobs.
It's like a lumpy T-Rex.
They captured her teeth actually very well, where they're kind of sticking out a bit.
But more like a caricature form of her teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she can still articulate. She's like, oh, come to mommy. Very articulate zombie. So a lot of the zombies aren't really talking by this point, but she is. I think because she's like patient zero.
She is the mother of all zombies.
She is the mother.
Yeah.
And the house gets lit on fire. Paquita's on the roof, but Lionel is in the attic and he discovers Mom's secret.
He just ends up there somehow. I think he just like in the chaos of things.
Somehow he's up there. He finds family photos that Mom kept for some reason.
And he finds out that Mom is actually a serial killer.
Well, father is an adulterer. And he kept some photos of him making out with some lady and then getting hot and heavy on a picnic blanket. For some reason, Mommy Vera kept these. I don't know.
She also kept the skeleton of the mistress.
She's very sentimental. She didn't want to let go of those memories. And then Lionel's like, oh yeah, he flashes back to his childhood when Mama Vera is drowning the mistress in the bathtub.
Well, Lionel's right there.
Yeah, and Lionel has like a single tear. He's like, oh man.
Yeah, there's some serious issues going on.
Serious trauma. Here. He blocked it out, understandably, and now it's resurfaced, and he ends up on the roof. And Mama Vera is trying to kill Paquita. She's like, "Oh, get away from my son, you slut! Get away from my son!" And he's like, "Don't you talk to her that way?"
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm not afraid of you," and he has the very classic moment that our protagonists have in horror movies where they have to realize their own power and declare to the villain that they're not afraid of them.
Zombie Vera, she manages to like knock Paquita off the side. She's about to fall. She's kind of like holding on. She engulfs Lionel.
She's like, come to mother. And he slides into her belly and her belly opens
He's back in the womb.
Yeah, her belly opens up to receive her son back into the womb. Luckily, Paquita had a giant medallion that she bequeathed to Lionel.
Yes, also set up in the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
So it's the star pendant that is supposed to protect him from evil.
Yeah, it's giant. It's not a tiny pendant either. It's like the size of a face.
And he uses that to burst out of her belly.
Yeah. He gushes out onto the roof in like a chunky sea of membrane, and he is reborn as a new man ready to stand up to Mom. So he gets to have his rebirth.
Fire department shows up. We get a scene of Zombie Baby crying in the burning house.
Yeah.
Does Zombie Baby survive? Zombie
knows?
Baby is quite a survivor and nimble. Yeah.
I mean, Zombie Baby did seem to be at like a low point at this moment because Zombie Baby was in the house crying and seemed a little helpless. Maybe
But,
Zombie Baby gets saved.
If they were to do a sequel of Dead Alive, I could see Zombie Baby surviving this whole ordeal.
All right. And in the end, the fire department's there. Mom falls back into the fiery pit of the house. And we have Lionel and Paquita.
Fully covered in blood.
Covered in blood, but holding hands. They kiss and
walk off.
Lionel's about to throw the pendant into the fire. Paquita's like, oh, no, don't. He's like, nope, we're not saving this. And he throws it into the fire. They walk off. Hand in hand.
Happily ever after.
Happily and bloodily ever after.
What a lovely love story.
And that is Dead Alive.
That's Dead Alive.
In a very large, mum belly-sized nutshell. Now let's get into our third portion of this episode. We have questions and awards ceremony. What would you say this film reminds you of?
The obvious thing is that it has similarities to Evil Dead 2 in that it's very bloody, it's very over the top, it's got that element of slapstick, and it's more of a comedy than a horror. It's like a gross out horror comedy.
Yeah.
Or splatter horror. That's one of the reasons why I have always liked this movie, is because it does end up becoming like a gory cartoon.
Yeah, it is gory fun.
Practical effects. You're in awe over all of the tons of different decapitations and dismemberments and anthropomorphizing of intestines.
So cute. Would you say, because it is so splat sticky and funny, so splat sticky, thank you, Peter Jackson, and funny, would you say that this would be appropriate for kids who are interested in horror?
Appropriate for kids interested in horror.
What age would you allow? Like if it was like your nephew or niece or something. What age would you start letting them see this?
I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, I was 17 when I first saw it. It was very tame for me at that time. I think if I had seen it when I was 12, it'd probably still be okay. I probably wouldn't have been scared. I probably would have been more entertained. I don't want to force these kinds of movies upon kids or teenagers.
Well, no, you don't want to like sit them down in a chair like Clockwork Orange style and force them to watch it. But if they are kids like us that were interested in horror, like I loved Leprechaun when I was in third grade, and I loved playing Leprechaun.
Yeah. So if you saw this movie when you were in third grade, would it have scared you?
I don't think it would have scared me. And this is one that I could see having rented whilst staying at my aunt's house with my cousins. And this would have been one that we would have laughed heartily at. And yeah, there is a sex scene. It's very tame and over the top with like, lips being peeled off as they kiss each other. And so it almost like it takes these adult themes, but hyperbolizes them in a very cartoonish fashion.
Yeah.
So I could see us watching this and just laughing.
Yeah, I would say like for me as a teenager, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. But I think for like other kids as teenagers, I'd be like, meh, I don't know.
If I watched this as a third grader, I'd be like, yep, I watched that and I'm cool. And I wouldn't tell my mom, and I would tell her later and be like, it was fine.
That's the thing. I think I would be like, no, you can't watch this. But if the kid watched it, then
it's like, don't watch this, wink, wink. Like
I wouldn't even do that. Just like don't.
I'm not gonna say you can watch this.
Yeah.
But if you watched it, I secretly wouldn't care. Fine. I'm never being allowed to babysit anyone.
Yeah, I guess that is a valid question because so many horror fans have come into horror movies at a young age. And I don't know what the rules are with parents and when they allow their kids to watch certain horror movies.
And every
if
kid
they
is different.
Exactly.
Yeah, every kid is different, and we all have different things that we had nightmares of. Some things are very random that we had nightmares of from when we were little.
Yeah.
Like I had nightmares from certain kid cartoons, whereas I didn't have nightmares from watching Scream Bloody Murder.
I mean, that one is a little more disturbing, so maybe that says something about you.
What? No, say something about cartoons. Cartoons are scary.
Cartoons were, I mean, old cartoons
in
were
like the 80s and 90s were actually pretty creepy.
They were, yeah. They were basically slashers.
Is this one that you feel like it didn't age well, or do you think it's still aging and doing well?
I would say that it is a classic, and that any audience of any generation would find it entertaining.
All right. Would you say it's more like a fine wine that gets better with time? Or it's just as good as it was back then?
Just as good as it was back then.
Okay. I guess there's almost like 3 categories for movies that came out a while ago. It's the kind that don't age well, the kind that are just as good as they were back then, or the kind that actually get better with age.
If I were to say it got better with age, then for me that would mean that I didn't like it as much when I saw it earlier. So it's not that. It's just as good as when I saw it.
Just as good as it was back then.
Yeah, every time I see this movie, it's fun. It's just a fun movie to watch.
So it's like chocolate.
It's like chocolate.
It's like honey. You know, honey's always good.
Yeah.
Doesn't go bad. Honey never goes bad. Pumpkin,
what
honey,
does
or
pumpkin
wine.
mean?
Pumpkin
Spoils?
means it was cool at the time, but then it got kind of wrinkly, and the longer you kept it around, it just got kind of moldy and weird. Kind of like hostile.
Do you agree that it's...
You know, I think that this probably is like a honey, you know, like it's just as good as it was back then. It was enjoyable back then. It's enjoyable now. There's few things in it where I'm like, ugh, that doesn't age well. A lot of things don't
Uncle
age.
Les.
Uncle Les, but I think he was meant to be unsavory at that time as well.
Yeah.
So he was meant to just be gross from the get-go. But there are some movies that we watch that were from a different time, and you're like, okay, it's a product of its time. We have to remember that. I don't think this is one of those. I think this one it's honey, you know?
Yeah.
It's just as good as it was back then.
Yeah.
All right. And now our awards ceremony, our Golden Gut. Tony, who or what is going to get the Golden Gut for this film? What one thing, actor, or element do you think stands above everything else?
This one is pretty easy for me. It always has been. The Golden Gut goes to the lawnmower scene. Yeah. So it's, as soon as it comes on, it just brings me such joy.
Yeah.
There's Lionel with the lawnmower just chopping through zombies, and his head's bobbling around like you were mentioning earlier, and there's just blood flying everywhere. I think I read something that they had to pump 5 gallons of fake blood per second out of this lawnmower. That sounds like a lot. Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's per minute, but I don't know. Maybe blood splatters or water and all that splatters pretty quick.
We watched a little interview from the 90s that said per minute. So I feel like it's not per second.
So, I don't know. It was a lot of blood.
It was a lot of blood.
And I think for a long time, this could have carried the crown as the most blood used in a film ever.
Yeah.
It has thus been completely shattered. I mean, maybe The Shining even had more blood.
A whole elevator.
Yeah, but that's just one scene and just a big splash, right?
Yeah.
There are other movies that had some pretty bloody elements to it. Kill Bill comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
Ichi the Killer, but I think that was more like CGI.
What about Addams Family 2?
Addams Family 2.
Yeah, when Wednesday and Pugsley are putting on the play, and they're putting on like some Shakespearean play. Their arms get chopped off.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that's thousands of gallons of blood.
I know. I just like that part.
This in Dead Alive, in the final scene where Lionel's gushing out of his mom's womb. That scene alone was 80 gallons of fake blood. I think I read somewhere that they used over 1,000 gallons of fake blood in making this movie. But then I read that in the Evil Dead reboot, they used 50,000 gallons of blood, fake blood.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on here.
Someone's just trying to one up another.
Yeah. How about you? What are you giving your Golden Gut Award to?
You know, it's close. And it also comes between 2 scenes. I really like the scene with Lionel and the baby in the park where he's trying to do what the other moms are doing with their babies. And it's just such a perfect choreographed scene of slapstick physical humor on Lionel's behalf and the baby. And when he's like punching and kicking the baby and all the faces of the onlookers are like, that's not good. Totally underwhelming of what they should be doing, but still so funny. But I have to give it to that lawnmower scene because it is actually so visually stimulating from the moment he opens that door and you can see the light behind him and the zoom in on his face. And you could tell he's really transforming as a character in that moment. He's taking charge in a very assertive way for one of the first times in the film.
Yeah.
And then you get the great moment of him trying to mow through this crowd of party people. It's a wonderful scene. So yeah, it goes to the lawnmower scene as well. Good time. All right. Next award, we have the best intestines. Who gets the award for the best, saddest, or most gut-wrenching death? And there are a lot to choose from.
There are a lot to choose from. I'm going to let you go first. What gets the best intestine?
Thank you. Okay. I've thought about this a lot. The best intestines go to the intestines.
I had a feeling that that's what it was going to be.
The little intestine baby with the lung hand mittens. I still can't believe he did it. He should just adopted the baby intestines and raised them like his own.
Like put the intestines in one of those cat backpacks and just walk around with it.
Yeah, travel buddy. Cute.
Those intestines were, they caused a lot of havoc.
Yeah, but that's because it was a child not having a good influence, didn't have a good upbringing. It came from that greaser's body, and the greaser was not the best kind of person. So who knows what he was eating his whole life.
Yeah, very gaseous.
Could have been gaseous. So he needed some more nurture. He was just all nature at that point. Who gets your award for best intestines?
I think I'm going to give my award for the best intestines to Father Magruder.
Oh, yeah.
And only because he was so badass in that fleeting moment and then just gets offed immediately. I mean, yeah, he did make a cool zombie, but I wanted to see some more Father Magruder ass kicking. I want to see him kicking and chopping and punching all of the zombies and just whooping more ass for the Lord.
Yeah. You know, I like that because out of all the characters that died, he was the one that was like, oh, he's dead already? Dang it. I thought he was cool.
I wish that he would have remained as a human character for longer.
Still a little longer.
It's going to get my best intestines.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. The axe. What one element or character would you cut from the film?
Oh, that one is also super easy. I'm going to cut Uncle Luke.
Uncle Pervert.
Wait,
Yeah.
what's his name? Uncle
Les.
Oops, that's what I say.
Luke.
Luke? Where did I get that from? Okay, I am going to cut Uncle Les. He is just the most despicable character. Yeah, he progresses the plot because he's the one who invites all the people over for the party. And if it weren't for him, we wouldn't get the awesome lawnmower scene and gore effects and stuff. He does get punched in the groin, I think, like 4 or 5 times in the last scene. But, you know, he's just gross and I'm going to axe him.
You know, sometimes he is a little too pervy. I think they could probably cut some of his, you know, pervier scenes. He could still be obnoxious and overbearing, and you do need someone to antagonize our main character into progressing the plot forward. So I do think he's kind of essential because by that point, Mom is just upstairs bedridden for most of the movie. So you kind of need a secondary villain. But yeah, I do think some of his perviness could have been tailored, edited. Yeah. I would actually give the axe to the score.
The score? You didn't like the wistful doo It was very nice and romantic.
It
and
was one
wistful.
of those scores that seemed to be on for the entire movie.
Oh, yeah.
And at times, I felt myself getting kind of drowsy because it was just on in the background the entire movie, lulling me to sleepiness.
Yep.
So there was a moment where I was just like, turn that song off.
Sometimes I wonder, because I've seen this in lower budget horror films, even more contemporary films, where they have this kind of lulling score throughout the entire film with no breaks. And I'm wondering if maybe that's a way to hide some of the audio mistakes.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah, it reminded me of the score to the one with Baby Oopsie.
Demonic Toys.
Yeah, it reminded me of like the first two Demonic Toys movies. I remember in those movies, they have the score on the entire time. And maybe you're right. Maybe it is a way to kind of mask any audio flaws. Man, there were parts where it was just kind of lulling me. I was like, just get it out. I need it. Yeah. Sorry,
But there's
score.
enough gore and there's enough visual effects
to keep me awake. Yeah. So you don't need the score to bring me in. I don't need the score for that reason. Have it in a few moments. Like it was great in the baby scene in the park because it really amped up the cartoonish flair. But for the entire movie, nah. Edit that. All right. I have a new category.
Oh, okay. What's the new category?
The second kidney.
The second kidney?
Yeah. Which character?
Does that mean the first kidney has been donated or stolen?
No, the second kidney gets to go off somewhere. This second kidney is being donated to something else. Or stolen to another film or franchise.
Okay.
Yeah. So which character would you like to see in a sequel or spinoff?
I think that's going to go to Zombie Baby because I think that of all the characters there, we didn't really get a finale to the Zombie Baby. We saw Zombie Baby crying in the burning house, but that Zombie Baby's pretty crafty, so I wouldn't be surprised if Zombie Baby survived the burning house.
I agree that I could see Zombie Baby getting his own sequel or spinoff. However, I really just want to see a cute little family story with Baby Intestine. So I would revive Baby Intestine with the little hand.
So Baby Intestine survives.
Yeah, so somehow Baby Intestine survived. Maybe it like regenerated after it was chopped up or something.
Yeah.
And they get a spinoff.
So it's like a family comedy.
Yeah. Zombie Intestine.
Does it have like an 80s sitcom intro song?
Yeah, and he's wearing like a little Walkman with little headphones and he's jamming out. It's really cute. And it probably gets canceled after one season. Probably gets canceled half a season through, but you still get at least 6 episodes.
So it's not a movie, it's a TV show.
It's a TV show.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
it was
see that.
so cute. It got a TV show that got canceled after 6 episodes. But you will watch those 6 episodes gladly.
Yeah.
Getting into hijinks.
Okay, so my question for you about Dead Alive is, how would you feel if this movie were remade or rebooted? Do you think that it could be remade?
Anything can be remade. Anything can, and they tend to do that. It might not be a good idea, but if Peter Jackson wanted to remake this, I think he could.
Bigger budget, more blood, more guts.
Blood, more lumpy puppets. Yeah, more over the top. I think he could do it.
Do you think he would use CGI?
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. He wouldn't dare. So yeah, if Peter Jackson wanted to remake this, I would applaud that choice. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm opposed to any remakes.
Would you be okay with like a sequel?
It could be fun just to see what they do with a reboot sequel.
A reboot? Yeah.
So maybe it's like, and there's another rat monkey. It wreaks havoc in another town somewhere else.
Yeah.
Could be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be fun. Moving on to our overall blockbuster rating. Is this a staff pick, a main shelf, a bargain bin, or a back alley dumpster?
Also, all these are quite easy for me.
Yeah.
This is a staff pick. This is one of, like, I just got hired at Blockbuster, And before I even signed my W-2 and my paperwork, my start paperwork.
I got my staff picks ready.
Yeah, I'm just showing up with a backpack with this in it. Like, can I put this up on the shelf? And they're like, no, you don't get a staff pick until you've worked here for a year.
That's
and I'm
not
just
how
like,
it works,
damn it.
sir.
You have to be a veteran.
Oh, dang. Is that how it works?
I don't know, but I could see myself getting shut down, and then I'm devising this plot to
Break into Blockbuster at night. Make your own staff shelf wall.
no, yes and no. I was just going to put it on the staff wall when no one was looking, but
Oh, like, hey, what's this doing in Henry's staff picks?
like, damn, someone keeps putting Dead Alive, aka Braindead, in Henry's stat. Why is it Henry?
I don't know, Henry. Seems unassuming.
In Cindy's staff pick.
Rosalind really loves Dead Alive.
So yeah, this is 100% a staff pick. This is one of my top movies of all time. I don't think I would ever get tired of this movie. It is the blueprint to which other splatter movies should follow.
So are you saying permanent staff pick?
Oh, yeah, permanent. It's there. It's
Forever.
Forever. Yeah.
All right, for the duration of your employment at Blockbuster.
Yeah. How many staff picks do I get?
I think 5.
Because I don't know if I named it in my top 10 when we did our
I
top
know.
10 episode, top 10 horror movies ever.
Yeah.
It was definitely on my zombie survival top 10.
It was in your yeah. So if there's like zombie week, it would be in your
Yeah.
staff pick forever. For me, I think it is in my staff pick, perhaps on a more temporary and rotating basis, depending on how much cathartic goo I want to see.
Cathartic goo.
Yeah, then it would go in my staff pick. So I'm thinking like for at least a month, it could be my staff pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elise, did you learn any lessons? What is your concluding thoughts on Braindead, aka Dead Alive?
Mother knows best. No. My concluding thought is that you can really anthropomorphize anything and it would be adorable, including an esophagus with lungs and intestines. Adorable.
Very adorable.
Yeah.
I would say that if you're ever making a movie and you think that you should do more, do it.
More is more.
More is more.
More is better. I like that. All right. Well, that about does it for this episode. Thank you again for being our patron, being one of our patrons, and listening to our very first Patreon episode. Very excited. Please let us know. Give us your feedback. What else would you like to hear from us? And we will make that happen.
Yep. What other movies do you want us to spill our guts about?
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right. This has been another episode of Gutted.